find out what he needs to do his job, because that's the only way you can address the crime problem. I would also try to get with the head of Public Works, presumably that's still going to be Mr. Mendoza. They're the people that deal with streets and infrastructure problems. What are his resources? What can he do? What does he need the council to do to help him? And I would also talk with my colleagues, because you can't get anything done. You know, it's not just a District 8 problem, it's a problem citywide. How do we get, you know, a solution in place citywide?
Thank you very much. And finally, the last answer to a question, Mr. Batt.
Which I'm learning. A lot of my colleagues know the answers, and pretty much I'm going to echo some of the things with the last person on the panel. But crime streets, the blight streets and crime. But the first thing we need to attack is the crime problem. It's systemic. We are the murder capital of the country, and as long as we're that, we are not going to get much done here. Our reputation, the tourism which we're hanging so desperately onto, they're giving away convention space in Las Vegas and Chicago and LA, and they're not coming here, and they're canceling because of the crime, or their perception of the crime. That blight breeds crime. With that, we need more code enforcement and create a blight court. And as far as the infrastructure goes, I met with the head of the Regional Planning Commission to see what streets were there. Heck, I don't know, most people don't even know this. Streets that are getting done right now with the Submerged Road Program, as well as with stimulus money, are streets that are in the 2004 bond issue. And we're going to be put in a quagmire because we don't know how to spend that money because they're line items in a capital project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Batt. Next question, we'll begin with Ms. Guidry. How do you plan to protect the integrity of neighborhoods while promoting economic growth?
We need smart economic growth. We need to first have this public-private partnership that the City Council has approved, and we're just waiting for the mayor to sign. With that, all of the economic tools will be under one roof for our businesses. We need to start by growing our businesses that already exist, give them the tools, but bring the neighborhood people to that table and have their voice in there when it's decided what kind of economic growth that we have. Of course, there's got to be a balance. We need to have a broader tax base, so we need the economic development, but we need to get all parties to the table to discuss that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robertson, how do you plan to protect the integrity of neighborhoods while promoting economic growth?
Well, I think you just use common sense. And that may be a simplification, but the fact of the matter is every time you have a proposal, every time you have development, there are unique circumstances. I think that when you have, for example, all these bar fights and all the problems, the controversies we have three levels of impact. We have the people that are right there that are impacted. We have the people in the general vicinity, and then we have people that are beyond that. So obviously the people that are close by and more directly impacted, they need to be brought in immediately in the very beginning and find out, well, what are your concerns? How can we mitigate it? You guys talk, you come up with a plan that you all can live with. I would make these people straighten out the problem. Now, maybe there are irreconcilable differences. Maybe you can't do that. I'll give you one example. This Po' Boy Festival on Oak Street, everybody agrees it's a good thing, and yet people are parking 5 blocks away. I think the Po' Boy Festival needs to be responsible for mitigating that impact. If it's off-site parking, buses, I mean, people are walking 10 blocks to get there and back, and they're not even at the festival. So it makes sense to address this problem for the sake of the festival.
Thank you very much. Mr. Batt.
Fortunately, we're going to have a master plan and hopefully a comprehensive zoning ordinance which is going to allow for the protection of the neighborhood, which I support 110%. If something like that weren't going to be in place, that either the current council or the future council would be voting on, this would be moved. I don't want to spend 85% of my time dealing with zoning issues anymore. I'd love to see it that we have seven people on the council that can just focus on quality of life issues. It was the bane of my existence before, and I'm not going to let it be again. I will tell you what I have learned since Katrina and having been defeated by Ms. Maduro is working with the Beacon of Hope and working with other organizations. I've been able to learn and listen and hear what the problems are in all the different neighborhoods, and also how government gets in the way in a lot of cases of the private sector. And I think we have a unique opportunity right now coming before us with this next election cycle. We're going to have one assessor. Hopefully we'll get a good executive we'll have some council members. But the well, I'll say that for later.
I'm sorry. Finally, Ms. Blanque.
I would protect the neighbors through civic engagement. It is my goal to have the people be able to interact on the issues prior to the issues coming through the council. Quite often as it is, we always get it after the fact, after the decision has been made. Instead of it being an input, a bargaining, a discussion, a healthy discussion on what is the best fit. I don't think there's anyone in this room that doesn't recognize we need economic development. The question is the fit. So that would be my goal, is to make sure that the neighborhoods, through whatever means, technologically or town hall meeting-wise, when economic development is coming into your block, it needs to be discussed openly, frankly, and what the end results will be and its impact.
Before we go to question 4, there was one question on here that I put that I was going to try to get to at some point. Mr. Batt answered it, but I want him to it's going to be a quick yes/no, quick thing, just because it's important to a lot of people here. Many citizens in District A worked on the new master plan for the city of New Orleans. If elected, do you support it? Do you support the recommendations for land use in District A? Just a yes or no down the line. Mr. Batt?
Absolutely yes.
Yes, with reservation.
Yes.
Yes, with reservations. They have not incorporated all the suggestions that are... What's the mayor doing?
And by the way, I am the shusher tonight. You're running. You're not a TV anchor. All right, question number 4. What single issue serves as the core challenge the people of New Orleans must overcome in order to attain multicultural prosperity, involved from the bottom of every national list of social and economic relevance to the top? And we'll begin this with, I believe we're beginning with Mr. Robertson.
Yeah. The issue that brought me into politics in 2003 is the one that is driving me on. I believe we need to build a new transportation system that will result in a high-speed train. If you can get to Houston in 2 or 2.5 hours, you have 4 million people there that can come into New Orleans and get back out again. So that would dramatically spur the tourism business. There's been no federal leadership on this. There's been no movement towards a license or franchise at the state level, nor at the city level. And yet we have people like Harrah's, who they went private for like $16 billion a year and a half ago. We have Trump wanting to build a 70-story skyscraper. So you have big private sector players. If there's any leadership in the public sector to allow for a private sector initiative, I believe we could easily come up with a demonstration project here. And this would allow Vetter and Landrieu to exercise leadership. It's new turf. That's the political problem. So that's what I would address. That would be the goal of my tenure on the City Council, to get a license or franchise awarding process in place of the City of New Orleans.
Mr. Batt?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
What single issue? Yes, I will. What single issue serves as the core challenge the people of New Orleans must overcome in order to attain multicultural prosperity, involved from the bottom of every national list of social and economic relevance to the top? That's a mouthful. These are not my questions.
I honestly believe what and I think everybody else does too. For anything to succeed in our city, the economy, quality of life, you name it, we need to eradicate the crime. And none of that question and the rest of them are all irrelevant. The City Council the other day just took money away from the criminal justice system to trim the budget. I would rather be, dirty and alive than dead, and safe. Did I say that right? I'd rather be dirty and safe than dead. Pardon me. Anyway, the bottom line is we need to take care of the crime to do anything. The perception of it, the facts of it, with blight as well.
Ms. Blanque?
Crime is the core issue. Crime in a proactive stance, and what we do and do not do for our juveniles programs, which would engage them when they become young adults